We are in middle of Torah Yud Zayin in Likutey Moharan, called VaYehi Hem Merikim Sakehem. And we are in middle of part 5 in this Torah, Od Hey. And Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us in this Torah how to receive love and fear of Hashem. Receiving it means that it's something that even though we do whatever we can to acquire loving and fearing Hashem, the experience of loving and fearing Hashem, but at the end of the day, it's something we must receive. It's something that we must receive from the tzaddik, because the tzaddik gives us the awareness and the da'at, the consciousness and the understanding. The tzaddik gives us the understanding that we need in order to experience in our heart more love and more fear of Hashem. And Rabbi Nachman explains that the tzaddik, well, how does he do this? By bringing to our awareness the purpose that Hashem has in creating the world, the ratzon, and the will, the intention, the desire that Hashem had in creating the world, and the pride that Hashem prides himself with the Jewish people. And the pride that Hashem prides himself with the Jewish people was, in fact, what Hashem, so to speak, looked ahead in time, because Hashem is beyond time and space. So Hashem saw beyond time and space. He saw the tremendous pride that he will pride himself with the Jewish people. And that was the intention that Hashem had, why Hashem created the world. That's the purpose why Hashem created the world. And so when that's revealed, this pride that Hashem prides himself, that's the aspect of tefillin. Tefillin is called pe'ercha chavush alecha. Your splendor, your glory is upon you. And when that happens, the aspect of the tefillin, when a person is wearing the tefillin, which is the pride of your higher self. Okay, so it's basically the pride of your existence. Okay, it's kind of like your crown. That's comparable to what a person feels when they're wearing the crown. It's the pride that I'm wearing upon my head and everyone can see it. And so that's what the tefillin is. It's the crown. It's the splendor, that your glory, what you pride yourself in. And that's why in our tefillin we have the pride that we pride ourselves in Hashem. In Hashem's tefillin, it's written, as the Gemara teaches us in the Masechet Brachot, the pride that Hashem prides himself with the Jewish people. In Hashem's tefillin, it says, "Mi kamecha Yisrael, ki Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz." Who is like your nation, Israel, a unique nation in all the land. And the experience that is felt by all of those that see the tefillin is awe, is fear. And it's comparable to how the subjects of the king feel when the king now comes out in public. He comes out of his palace and everyone sees the king in all of his glory, all of his splendor. And so it's different than just knowing that there is a king. Knowing that there is a king is one level of awe, one level of fear. Everyone fears the king, everyone is in awe of the king. But when they see the king in front of them in all of his glory and those clothing, the royal clothing, and with his entourage, the guards and the officers and all that, and the trumpets, then there's much greater concrete feeling of awe in all of the subjects and all of the people seeing this. And so that's the experience when the tefillin are seen. And that is, in fact, the reason why Hashem created the world. That tremendous pride that Hashem prides himself in the Jewish people, which is the aspect of tefillin. Hashem created the world. In other words, what we're saying here is that Hashem created the world for his tefillin, for the pride that he prides himself in the Jewish people. Or the pride that he prides himself in the Jewish people, the purpose that Hashem has in creating the world, Hashem wears it as his tefillin, so to speak. So that's a tremendous power of tefillin. That's a tremendous significance of tefillin. And that's the source of awe. When we feel awe of the king, it's because we are recognizing now the pride that he prides himself with the Jewish people. And that is the reason why Hashem created the world. And every part in the world, every individual specific detail in the world is created for a specific detail, as in the pride, a specific pride that Hashem prides himself with a certain individual or a certain movement of a certain individual in the Jewish people. And we experience this from the tzaddik, through this understanding that the tzaddik brings to us. And when a person is blocked from the light of the tzaddik, he's unable to experience this love and the fear of Hashem. And so where does that block coming from? It's coming from inappropriate actions. When a person is acting shamefully, inappropriately, what happens is when a person acts inappropriately is that a person's intelligence and consciousness is drawn outward into inappropriate places. So a person is made up of a body and a soul. A person is made up of machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh, the thoughts of a person and the actions of a person and the speech of a person. And these are represented also by the neshama, ruach, v'nefesh, 3 parts of a person's soul. And the spiritual aspect of a person is represented by the consciousness, the thinking, the intelligence, the wisdom. And the physical aspect of a person is represented more by the actions of a person. And the speech is usually what connects the two. The ruach connects the two. The ruach, the speech, connects heaven and earth. The breath also is what connects the invisible to the visible, and the spiritual to the physical. And so when a person's actions are inappropriate, shameful actions, what's called achiruta ma'asim, that's the vessel, that's the body. And if the body is corrupted, if the body is unhealthy, if the body is sick, then the soul is not able to shine through. And so this is a rule that the Ramchal teaches us, and the Baal Shem Tov tells us the tremendous importance of making sure that your body is always healthy. Make sure that you eat healthy, you have a healthy lifestyle, you exercise daily. Because if a person doesn't pay attention to their health, if a person neglects to take care of themselves, and then the body is weak or the body is unhealthy, the soul will not be able to function properly, will not be able to shine through. And so this is a law that we have in Kabbalah. When the vessel is corrupted, when the vessel is weak, when the vessel is broken, then the light is just lost. There's nothing to contain the light. And the light, when it's lost, it's fallen. The light is fallen and it's channeled in inappropriate places. Same thing. Here, when a person's actions are shameful, inappropriate actions, and the actions represent the body, they represent the vessel, and so then the consciousness of that person is lost. The consciousness is the light, it's the soul, it's the spiritual aspect. It's lost because the vessel, the action aspect, is inappropriate, is wrong, is corrupted. And so that's why the shameful actions, the inappropriate actions, cause foolishness, causes a loss of consciousness. It causes a disconnected consciousness, a chaotic thinking, incoherent thinking. And so we must rectify this. How do we rectify this? How do we fix this? We must return this light to its source. All of this light that was lost from this person's consciousness, and now this person is in a state of foolishness, we must return that light to his consciousness. And how do we do that? Rabbi Nachman says by completing the Mizbeach. The Malchut, the Mizbeach, the Shechina, the light of Hashem that dwells in this physical world is in fact this consciousness. It's this expanded consciousness. It's just a different dimension, a different way of seeing the expanded consciousness. The holy consciousness is the godliness dwelling in this physical world. The holy consciousness is the soul, the neshama of a person dwelling within the body. And there are aspects of the animal self that are stealing away from this light of the consciousness, okay, from the Mizbeach. Okay, because in the body, just like the Mizbeach, the altar, the Shechina, the Malchut, is surrounded by the 70 nations of idol worshippers, and they try to steal away sparks from the Mizbeach, from the Malchut. In the same way, the physical body of a person tries to steal away the light of the consciousness. And that causes a person to fall into foolishness. And so when a person eats and they're eating the food that they're eating, which contains sparks of holiness, which are supposed to uplift and expand the strength and the power of the consciousness and the soul, if a person is instead eating in order to fulfill the animal desires, the gluttonous desires of food and drink, then instead of those sparks of holiness increasing the light of the consciousness, they increase the power and the strength of the animal self. And that causes a block, obscurity, a concealment on the light of the soul. That causes the person to fall into foolishness, what we call ksilut hasechel. So we must fix the mizbeach. We must complete and fix the mizbeach. And if we complete and fix the mizbeach, then what that means is that we are eating in a proper and a holy way, in a proper way. Our food and our table is a table set in front of Hashem. And that's the consciousness and the awareness that we have while we're eating, is that we're eating at the table of Hashem. And the light is complete. The light of our understanding of our divine consciousness is complete. And the way that we accomplish this, Rabbi Nachman says, the way that we come to eating in a proper way, to eating at a holy table, to eating at the table that is compared to the Mizbeach, a table, a meal that we experience the awe of Hashem while we're eating. We're sitting in front of the king. We're sitting at the table of the king. The way that we accomplish this is by taking the Jewish souls that were lost among the 70 nations of idol worshippers and returning those Jewish souls back to the side of holiness. Those are the righteous converts. And when we do that, so all of those parts of the Mizbeach, of the holy table, right? The Mizbeach is the Shulchan Asher Lifnei Hashem, the table in front of Hashem, but those parts of that holy Mizbeach that were stolen by the 70 nations of idol worshippers are returned, and now the Mizbeach, the Malchut, is completed and perfected. And when that happens, so then the consciousness, the light of Hashem dwelling within us, is also expanded and revealed and completed and perfected. And we come to a state of hitromemut da'at, hitromemut sechel, elated and elevated consciousness and awareness. And then we're able to experience the light of the tzaddik. Then we are able to understand what the tzaddik is wanting us to understand, and we become conscious of that light. And then through that understanding and through that consciousness, we're able to experience more fear and more love of Hashem. So Rabbi Nachman explaining to us now, how are we able to complete the Mizbeach? How are we able to return those Jewish souls from the 70 nations? And he says through tzedakah, through charity. When we give charity, and specifically when we give charity to, the more people that we give charity to, the more we increase the friendly energy, the energy and the spirit of love throughout the world. Because whenever there is charity that is being given from one person to the other, then you are acquiring a friend. You are buying the love of that person. And then the space in between these two people is filled with love, friendly energy. And that energy is a peaceful energy. It's an energy that is void of any interference. It's a peaceful, calm energy that when truth is found throughout the whole world, but truth is usually hidden. But there are sparks of truth everywhere in the world. And there are sparks of truth, there are sparks of Torah, there are sparks of the truth about Hashem and the Jewish people, which are found in every religion, in every one of the 70 nations of idol worshippers, and in all of their books. And in any of their books, the truth of the Torah is found even there, because the truth is really the soul of the world. Okay, the body represents the aspect of untruth. It's the temporary. Untruth, the falsehood, is something which is temporary. The body, like in the same way, is also temporary. But the soul is eternal. And therefore the soul represents the emet, the truth. And so there is the truth about the Torah, about Hashem, about Moshe, about the tzaddikim, is found everywhere in the world. That's what gives energy and life to everything in the world. It's the sparks of holiness that are filling up and dwelling within all of matter. And therefore, even within the 70 nations, within the idol worshippers, within their books, within their religions, within what they call their holy books, is found the truth of the Torah of Hashem, of the Jewish people. But because the environment is so full of interfering energies, and these are energies of incoherence, energies of arguments, energies of hatred, wars, separation, all of these energies that are represented by sina, the opposite of love, right? Hatred. All of these energies are an interference, and they block the truth from being experienced and seen as it is, truth. And they block a person from seeing and finding the truth. And even if they read it, they will not pick up on it. But when you remove that interfering, blocking energy, that energy of concealment and obscurity that is filling the environment, that stormy wind, as Rabbi Nachman called it, then the truth is able to be heard, the message is able to be found even in the darkest of places. And that's essentially what we want. We want that those Jewish souls that are found in such dark places, that were born and were raised in completely disconnected, in an environment completely disconnected from Torah and Hashem, so far from Torah and so far from Hashem and so far from the Jewish people, we want them to be able to find the truth about the Torah and about Hashem in wherever they are, in that place that they are, in their own books, in whatever books that they're studying, whatever books that they're being taught in their religion, that they should be able to find the truth looking at them, looking right back at them, and so that truth will be awakened in their heart, and that will cause them, that will motivate them to seek, to find their way back home. And so this happens through giving charity. And Rabbi Nachman says, when you give charity to a Torah scholar, to a tzaddik, to a righteous person, whose soul, these people, their soul includes many, many, many souls. So all of those souls that are included in their soul, when you give tzedakah to this one person, it's as if you gave charity to all of those people included in them. And then the energy of peace, the friendly energy, the energy of love is spread out to that extent to all of those people. And they also feel on some level of consciousness or subconscious, they feel a certain love to you because you bought their love with that charity that you gave. And so now it could be that you gave charity to this Torah scholar, and that causes the energy of love, the spirit of love and friendliness and peacefulness to be spread out throughout the whole world. And now when the tzaddik speaks, when someone holy speaks words of truth, those words will be found even in the farthest ends of the world, even in the greatest darkness. They will be found even in the books of other religions, even in the books of the idol worshippers. The truth about the Torah and Hashem will be found, and they will see how it contradicts their whole religion. These words contradict their whole religion, and that will awaken something inside of them that will motivate them to return to Hashem. And so this is what we're up to here in the middle of Od Hey. Rabbi Nachman says that when you have removed any interference from the environment, then you can hear, the words are heard even very far away, because there's nothing blocking. Okay, we have this expression of being able to hear a pin drop when the room is absolutely silent, even if it's a huge room, a huge hall, right? But when there's no interference, then the sound travels easily and properly, even over great distances. ואזי זה הדיבור נכתב בספריהם של העכו"ם, מדינה ומדינה ככתבה, ואזי מוצאים העכו"ם בספריהם הפך אמונתם, כמו שמצינו כמה גרים שנתגיירו מחמת זה, מחמת שמצאו בספריהם הפך אמונתם. And so then, says Rabbi Nachman, these words are written in the books of all these nations, and he brings this pasuk, medina umdina kichtava, it's like in Megillat Esther, right? Every province and every state according to its writing, meaning in its own language, and in their own language, in their own books, written in their own language of of that nation from the 70 nations of the idol worshippers, in their own books written in their own language, they will find something which is contradictory to their religion, something that completely uproots the premise of their religion from the base. And Rabbi Nachman says that this is a phenomenon that we have throughout history. I mean, even nowadays we have this. A lot of people that converted to Judaism, and they say exactly this. But even back then, this is Rabbi Nachman 250 years ago is saying the same thing. He says, we found so many converts that converted because of this, because they found in their books contradictions to their beliefs, to their belief systems, to their religion. Where does this come from, says Rabbi Nachman? Where does it come, such a thing, such a phenomenon, that they would find something that is completely contradictory, that goes completely against the religion and uproots the premise of the religion from its base? ונכתב בהאוויר בבחינת לשוני עץ סופר מהיר, והאוויר היה זך ונח על ידי בחינת הון יוסיף רעים רבים, עד שהלך הדיבור בבחינת ושמור הולך בכל המדינות, ונחקק ונכתב שם בספריהם, ועל ידי בחינה זאת מצאו בספריהם הפך אמונתם. So says Rabbi Nachman that this comes about from the words of the tzaddik, that the words of the tzaddik were engraved and inscribed in the environment, in the air, and this is the aspect that is expressed in the pasuk, that the shoni et sofer mahir, my tongue is like a pen of a skillful scribe. So the words of the mouth are compared to the inscription of the pen, and so the words of the tzaddik, the words of truth, are inscribed and engraved in the air. And because the air was now cleared from any interference, the air is now pure and tranquil, peaceful, and because of this love energy that was spread out through the charity, and so now that charity causes the air and the environment to be so tranquil and so peaceful with this love energy that those words of the tzaddik that were inscribed in the air will travel very far. They will travel and they will be inscribed, or they will be discovered, written in those books, in the books of the other religions, in the books of the idol worshippers. And he says, through this explanation, you can understand how this phenomena happens, that they found in their own books contradictions that completely uproot the premise of their religion at the base. The whole foundation of their religion is uprooted. And through this they converted. And he says this is the phenomena that many converts have recounted, and they told that this is their story of what caused them, what motivated them, what awakened them to convert to Judaism, was what they found in their own religion, in their own religious books, things that were completely contradictory to the whole foundation of their religion. And this phenomena, we just explained above how it came about, how it happened. So says Rabbi Nachman that this is also the meaning in the Megillat Esther. So he's giving us a few psukim, a few verses here from Megillat Esther, and explaining them according to the ideas here of this idea in this Torah about how these converts, how did they convert, what caused them to convert, what awakened, what motivated them to convert. And so the pasuk in Esther says, it was found written that Mordechai had told. So this pasuk, says Rabbi Nachman, is describing this phenomena. It was found written that which Mordechai had told. Okay? So Mordechai, says Rabbi Nachman, the name Mordechai is called Ish Yehudi, right? The famous pasuk, Ish Yehudi haya b'Shushan Abira, famous pasuk in Megillat Esther, that Mordechai is called the Jewish man. And the Chazal, the Gemara teaches that Ish Yehudi, that a person is called a Yehudi only when they completely deny, when a person has come to a level of complete denial of any idol worship and any idolatry and any of the corrupt belief systems, right? When a person has excluded from their reality, disconnected from themselves, any idol worship, any corrupted belief systems, any belief systems that are contradictory to the Torah, okay? And so that's called kofir ba'avodah zarah, a person who is kofir ba'avodah zarah, meaning that they have completely canceled out any idolatry from their mind, from their life, from their reality. And then such a person is called Yehudi. That's what the Gemara says. כמו שאמרו רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, כל הכופר בעכו"ם נקרא יהודי. The Gemara in Masechet Megillah, Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, says that anyone who rejects idolatry, anyone who rejects idol worship and the corrupt belief systems associated with it, that rejection of idol worship, canceling it out from your mind, from your reality, from your consciousness, is what causes a person to be in the status of Yehudi, to be called a Yehudi. So the name Yehudi is represented by someone who rejects idol worship. And so the words, when it says that it was found written, that which Mordechai told, is as if it's saying it was found written the words which reject and cancel out idol worship that was told by the tzaddik. Okay, so the truth that was told by the tzaddik, the truth of the Torah, the truth of HaShem, the truth of the Jewish nation, that truth which completely cancels out and eliminates the foundations of the corrupt belief systems. It eliminates the belief systems of idol worshippers. That truth is represented by the word Mordechai. And that truth is told by the tzaddik. Okay, Mordechai is the tzaddik that tells that truth. And this is the tzaddik that speaks these words of emet, these words of truth. And when the pasuk says that it was found written that which Mordechai told, it means that these words of truth, the words that cancel out the belief systems of idol worship, the belief systems of the 70 nations of idol worshippers, those words were found in their books. Those words that Mordechai told were found. It was found written as he had said, as he had told. Because those words were inscribed and written, and they were inscribed and engraved in the environment, in the air, and then they were found to be written, to have been written in the books, in the religious books, in the books of those idol worshippers, in their religious books. וזהו וימצא כתוב אשר יגיד מרדכי, שהדיבורים אשר יגיד מרדכי שהם דיבורי אמונה של הצדיק האמת, נמצא כתוב בספריהם, כי הדיבור של הצדיק הלך למרחוק, עד שנכתב ונחתק שם בספריהם, שעל ידי זה נמצא בספריהם ההפך אמונתם. So that's what it means, that the words, it was found written, that which Mordechai told, that the words that Mordechai had said, the words of emunah, of the true tzaddik, that's what the true tzaddik speaks. The true righteous tzaddik speaks words of emunah, words of clear belief and trust in Hashem, words of the true belief and trust in Hashem, words of the true belief in the Torah and in the Jewish people and in Hashem. Those words that the tzaddik speak, those words of truth, were found written in the religious books of the others, of these idol worshippers, because the words of the tzaddik traveled very far through the environment. It was inscribed and engraved and written in those other books, in the books of those other religions, until it was found, those words were found in their books, those words were found in their books, those words that completely contradict and uproot the whole foundation of their belief systems. And that's how it was found in their books, completely the opposite, completely that which is completely the opposite and contradicting and against their belief system, their religion. Because the words of the tzaddik, these holy words of the tzaddik, the Mordechai, were found in their books. And then says Rabbi Nachman, when these idol worshippers, they come and they look in their books and they see these words of the tzaddik, these words of truth, written in their books or found in their books, they recognize these words of truth in their books. They recognize lines or words here and there that completely uproot their corrupted belief systems, the idol worshippers' belief systems and their religion. That is what causes them to convert to Judaism. And then Rabbi Nachman brings us another pasuk from Esther. This is the described in the pasuk, "V'rabim me'amei haaretz mityahadim." Right, the pasuk says that many of the nations of the land became Jews, and so that's the process. Okay, all these psukim that Rabbi Nachman brings us from Megillat Esther is this process of the charity, and the charity causing the peaceful, friendly love energy to spread out throughout the environment, dissolving any interference, and then the words of the tzaddik, the words of Mordechai, are traveling very far throughout all of the provinces, and the words of the tzaddik, the words of Mordechai, the words of truth are then found written in the texts, in the books of the other religions. And then finally what happens because of that is that many of these other nations, many of the people from the other nations of the land became Jews. And that's the passage that Rabbi Nachman says. And so that brings us to Ot Vav, to part 6 in this Torah. We'll see Bezrat Hashem in the next shir.